Hey, hello, good morning, everybody. We are at 11 a.m. here, Central European time, 10 a.m. in UK. So I guess let's maybe give like a 1 or 2 more minutes potentially for some more people to join. And then, oh, I see some familiar people. Hey, hello, Michael. I see Torben. I see few others. Let's wait a minute or two, and then we will start and see what the turn up is. Okay. I guess let's go ahead and start then. We are 2 minutes after the official start, so if anybody joins later on, we will go ahead and start. So I guess I'm sharing my screen, and we are moving into the first part, which will be like a short presentation and presenting a little bit of the ideas behind the dynamic pricing and repricing, and then I'll of course show everything specifically in our tool also. So I'm sharing my screen, and let's go ahead. Okay, so to start with, let's go with a simple question. I know that, of course, it's not a conversation, but I wanted to give you something to think about in the beginning. So, how many of you actually changed prices in your store in the last 30 days? Right, I would assume some of you did, but how many times did your competitors change their prices in the same time? So that's the case, that the market today is not really stable. It's not predictable. It moves daily, sometimes hourly, and yet many companies still price like it's 2015 manually, occasionally reactively, right? So today I just want to show you how dynamic pricing isn't just about automation, but it's about control over margin, over competitiveness, over speed. So we've seen companies lose margin not because their product was bad, but because they reacted 2 weeks too late. And we've seen other companies that increase margin by 3, 4, 5, 8% just by responding faster than the market. So first, let's align on what dynamic pricing actually means, right? So because it's often misunderstood. Dynamic pricing simply means that your prices are live. They react, and most stores treat price like static number. You set it, maybe review it once a month and hope it works. But in reality, nothing around the price is static. So your competitors change prices constantly, sometimes manually, sometimes through repricers. If they drop by 3% and you don't notice, you're suddenly overpriced. And if demand spikes, your price should reflect that. If demand drops, holding price might kill volume. So think about seasonal electronics, garden products, heating equipment. Demand shifts fast. Same with the inventory, right? So if you have 2 units left, pricing logic should be different than if you have 2,000 units in stock. All the events, Black Fridays, back to school, summer seasons, pricing logic that works in March may destroy margin in November. And this is where smart systems come in. You don't just react randomly, you define rules, minimum margin thresholds, strategic positioning. So let's move from theory to practice, because dynamic pricing without structure becomes chaos pretty much. At Dealavo, what we look at is a 3-step system. So strategy, monitoring, adjustment, that's kind of the simple steps. So dynamic pricing does not start with algorithms. It starts with decisions, with strategies. So not every product should play the same role in your portfolio, of course. Some products are traffic builders, some are margin generators, some are there to complete the basket. If you price everything with the same logic, you lose strategic control. For example, if a product is meant to win traffic, maybe you accept lower margin. But if it's exclusive or niche, why race to the bottom, right? Another mistake that we see, companies monitor everyone, but not everyone is your real competitor. So you define who matters, who influences your pricing perception, who competes for the same customer. Another thing, the budget allocation for the ads. So if you are investing heavily in Google Shopping and advertisement there for a product, there is no point in paying for traffic if your price makes you uncompetitive, because the clicks will go through, but it's not going to convert. Next thing simply is the price monitoring, right? So strategy defines intention, and now the visibility comes. So you cannot react to what you don't see. Dynamic pricing requires the high quality structured market data, because you see where you are positioned, who is above you, who is below you, how many sellers compete for the same SKU, and then the price changes. Once you have strategy and you have the visibility, you understand the market, only then the automation makes sense. And this is where most people think dynamic pricing begins, but in reality, it's the final step. So now you automate based on rules, minimum margin thresholds, target positioning, stock levels, market caps, etc. And why is dynamic pricing important? Let me share 2 short stories. So let's say we have customer A that noticed on Monday that competitors lowered prices over the weekend. By the time he manually checked everything, adjusted prices, and then pushed updates live, his revenue had already dropped by 30%. In today's market, timing is the main thing. Timing is margin, because customer B, on the other hand, had rules in place. The system monitored competitors. When the market moved, his prices moved automatically. To summarize, the market today is dynamic, right? So whether we like it or not, that's just how it is. So what does this actually give you in practice? So there are 4 major advantages. So let's be honest, manual pricing is exhausting. Excel files, checking competitors, adjusting prices, double checking the margins, and then repeating that next week, next day, next month, depending, of course, on the assortment. If you have thousands of products, you're not going to do it every day, every week even. Margins, second thing. So dynamic pricing is not about lowering prices. And that's the main thing that we try to educate our clients about it, because it's about knowing when you don't have to lower the prices. Because if competitors increase price and you don't react, you're leaving margin on the table. Next thing, just speed is simply a competitive advantage. Because if your reaction time is days and your competitor's reaction time is minutes, hours, you're structurally behind. And the last thing, this one is interesting. So customer satisfaction, because customers don't expect you to be the cheapest, but they expect you to be fair. Dynamic pricing helps you to stay aligned with market reality and builds this long-term credibility. Simply how that works, right? So first step, you need to determine if you want to automate the prices for the whole assortment or maybe some chosen categories. Next thing, building the rule that actually resonates with the strategy. So different rules for different product groups or even brands. Assigning the roles of the products here is crucial because, as we discussed earlier, we need to assign the products correctly because we are not going to price the same the traffic builder that we are going to price our long tail product. Then using the real market data, that's also crucial because in Dealavo, for example, you can integrate your sales data from Google Analytics and utilize it for optimal prices. In the end, it's not only the competitors, but also your own internal data about your margins, your sale volumes, conversions, etc. And then the last thing, of course, is somehow you need to measure and test the performance of the rules and strategies you implement. And that's the most important thing, I would say, because you can evaluate, A/B test, and see how that actually affects the business. So, I mean, this is not just theory. It's not just what we observe here at Dealavo, but according to McKinsey and Company in the statistics, so dynamic pricing increases revenue by 2 to 5% and margins by even up to 10%. And now think about it for a second. If your company generates 10 million in revenue, a 5% uplift is 500,000. And margin improvement is even more powerful because that goes directly to profitability. Last thing, simply interesting insight. Companies that automate the pricing processes save up to 1,000 of hours per month because that's your team moving from operational work to strategic work. And also, of course, let's address the concerns that usually appear when we talk about dynamic pricing. So the first concern is price wars. So what if automation keeps lowering prices endlessly? In Dealavo, what you always do is define minimum margins thresholds so that you avoid any type of price wars and losing margins. Another fear that we hear is prices changing too often. So will customers notice? Will it damage trust? You actually control the update frequency. So some markets, industries require hourly reactions. Others work perfectly with daily updates or even less frequent updates. Third thing, so what about products where market data is incomplete? This happens, especially in long tail assortments. So that's why we apply emergency rules. So if competitor data is missing, the system switches to predefined safe logic. So up until now, so we've talked about strategy, monitoring, automation. But there is one challenge many companies face, and they don't have a dedicated pricing department. They don't have time to design, test, optimize complex pricing strategies. And that's repricing AI as an additional strategy, which is available in our repricing module. Here it comes in place because you can create multiple AI-based rules, assign products to them, set price limits, and then the algorithms simply do the rest fully automatically without further manual intervention. So how does it work? Simply, the first step is segmentation. Every product in your portfolio has a role: traffic builder, potential traffic builder, long tail products. We classify products based on transactional and analytical data. And why and how you choose to use the AI instead of building strategies manually. The three main reasons is Not every company has a pricing specialist, as mentioned earlier. And of course, hiring one is expensive. Training one takes time. You don't need to understand pricing theory. You need to define your limits. That's the first thing. Second thing, the methodology. So this is not rule of thumb pricing. It's not let's match the cheapest competitor. It's based on transactional data, analytical signals, and proven segmentation logic. And it continuously verifies the performance because we track and A/B test the performance of that. And finally, the simplicity. So you create a rule, assign products, set your price limits, and then algorithm works automatically. So in essence, why would you use it? So repricing AI combines expert methodology, automation, and simplicity. So, I mean, it's powerful on the inside, but easy on the outside. And I know how time is valuable for the businesses. So repricing AI combines the expert methodology, automation, and simplicity. In the end, you can clearly track the results on the dashboards and overviews. To just, simplify everything that we discussed so far, what does this actually mean for you? So it means that your pricing reacts to the market, even when you're not watching at night during weekends. That's the first thing, and usually the most important thing. Another thing, autonomy, simply independence. So you're not dependent on the manual checks, not dependent on one employee, not dependent on reacting too late. You move from reactive pricing to controlled pricing, pretty much. Effectiveness. So, it means your prices are aligned with your strategy. So traffic products drive traffic, margin products protect profitability. Every product has a purpose, and pricing supports that purpose. Time saving, of course, it means your team saves hours every week, and instead of guessing whether pricing works, you see the results. And I guess now, instead of talking about it, let me show you how this actually works inside the platform. So I'm going to jump into the tool itself. So to start with, right? Of course, in order to go into the repricing and dynamic pricing and how it works and looks, we have to start with the foundation, with the data. Let's assume we already have the strategy in place, we have the ideas in place. Then, as in the initial steps or pillars that we discussed, we are into the data and visibility of the market. Then the next step will be the dynamic pricing, but starting with the data, how it works and how it looks. The full overview for every product, that's the main thing, and that's what we provide in Dealavo. So simply, we choose the sources of monitoring. If it's the price comparison websites, price aggregators like Google Shopping's, Idealo, Amazon's, any marketplaces, price comparison websites, but also direct web shops of competitors. All of that can be monitored, and all of that can be a source of data. But what is really important is that all of the products that you track, that you monitor, that you sell, it gives you simple overview here in Dealavo from the whole market landscape. So right away, when you log into the system, you have the full overview. You see the ranking with all of the products that you monitor. When you click on the specific product, you will have the full overview from the whole market. So the sources that you monitor, everything in one place. So you can easily track the competitors across all of the all of the marketplaces, all of the price comparison websites, everything in one simple overview. Another thing, the whole automation process starts when we have the segmentation done, when we have the products assigned to the rules, and then we can work with that. But all the products, they can be easily managed from navigation perspective. You can track it from labels, categories, groups. What you can do is you can filter based on pretty much any parameter that you provide to us can be used for the filtering. Another thing, the analysis of our competitors. In the retailers tab, what we do and what we are able to see is understand who our competitors are. So for certain categories, we will have different competitors than for others, right? So if I want to focus on my specific group or category of products and identify the main competitors for that, before I go into the automation process, I will have all of that information here in the retailers tab. I can right away see that, for example, eJoker on Amazon, what we have is 139 products in common with them. 0 of them we sell at the same price, 49 we sell pricier, and 90 we sell cheaper. But I can have a deep dive view and compare myself with the specific competitor, product per product. What is my price? What is the competitor price? And how we differ? All of that knowledge, all of that information later on can be used in order to optimize our rules. Because I will set some rules for certain categories, for certain product roles, but I will also use the important information about the competition. Because as we already discussed earlier, I'm not going to compete on my whole assortment with everybody on the market, with every retailer, every competitor. All of that has to be chosen, analyzed, and then simply implemented. Of course, everything can be easily filtered. Navigation is as simple as before. So if I want to filter through any brands, any groups, labels of products, all of that is available. Same goes with the stock. So maybe I want to track how the stock looks like, me versus the competitor. By default, we of course show all of the in-stock products. But what we can see here is, for example, this particular product, the competitor is out of stock. So potentially, if that's our main competitor in that product, in that category of products, I will adjust it in the rule, in my strategy for that particular product. All of that knowledge is available. Going back from the segmentation, from the competitor overview. Once we analyzed who our competitors are, once we analyzed what are the products that are driving traffic, let's say I can easily identify the products where I want to be super competitive because those are my traffic builders. There is a really, really simple and easy way to do it. So let's say there is a column that shows us what is the percentage that I can go to in order to get to the minimum price on the market. How does it look like? I can easily identify the products where I'm close to being the cheapest to the minimum price. Those are potentially my traffic builders because here I'm really competitive. And if my margin is high, that's even better, right? Because I can easily work with those products and promote them heavily. And I will build the rules specifically for those. But yet, everything starts with the data and visibility of the market. But let's go into that automation. Let's go into that repricing, right? Because that's the main topic here. As we went through the analytics and analyzing the data, now we need to build the actual rules, the actual strategies. So how we can do that? Of course, we can create multiple rules. Right now, what I will create or build the rule is, let's say, all of my category of top sellers. I will build the rule for my top sellers category. I will choose the priority for the rule, because that might be my number one rule, the most important one. But I can have the same products in other rules, because some of the top sellers, they also might be my traffic builders, or maybe they are in another role, another category of products, and they can have multiple rules. And if I cannot achieve the price from rule number one, we will go to the rule number 2, 3, 4. Next thing, selecting the strategy. So that's what I was referring to in our presentation. So two main strategies that we can implement. First one, we can implement the strategy relative to competitors. So where we build everything from scratch. We build our idea for the rule, our idea for the pricing, set all of the choose the product, set all of the minimums, maximums, and what we want to achieve with the rule. But the second thing, the AI strategy that I also mentioned, that's where you can let us handle the whole pricing. Because as discussed earlier, not everybody has access to the specific dedicated pricing manager. And if they don't, there is always a possibility. Because if you have to manage all the other tasks, most likely you won't be able to focus on the pricing itself for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a day, right? That's usually not how it works. So that's where the AI rule comes in place, where we handle pretty much everything for you. You just set up your minimums and maximums, choose the products, and then we handle all the rest. We assign the roles for the products and assign then the rules in order to achieve the end goal, which is maximize the profit, right? A/B testing every 30 days to basically understand the performance of the rule and how the performance actually looks like over time. What we focus on today, and the main thing, is the relative to competitors dynamic pricing, because that's where we can easily set everything up and where I can actually show you how it looks and works. So we choose the strategy to relative to competitors pricing. We choose the channels for which we build the rule right now. So of course I will have different pricing for my shop, for my Google Shopping, than I will have for Amazon or any other marketplace. I will build totally different rule for my Amazon, for my eBay, for my any other marketplace. So let's say right now I'm building the rule for the shop and then for the Google Shopping. Next step that comes is simply getting and adding the products to the rule. Again, how I can do that is simply using any parameters. So if I have the products labeled for all of my top sellers, then I will easily find my label, my category of products with top sellers, and just assign it to that. Or maybe I want to build it based on any other criteria. Let's say I will build it for the top sellers, but top sellers in the price range from €1 to €150. And now I'll just filter all the products that are, in that particular criteria range. Another thing I can apply is maybe working a little bit more with the stock details. So maybe only the products where I have the stock of, I don't know, from 10 to 50 pieces or 50 units in my stock. I can easily do that. And then I see, okay, based on all of that criteria, in the end, there are 33 products that will be assigned to that particular rule. I assign the rule to all of those products. And then what else I can do here is I can assign the the rule that all of the new products that meet the criteria will be automatically added. So I don't have to manually change everything whenever my stock changes or whenever the price goes over that threshold that I chose here, then it's always automatically added to the rule. And then we will be jumping to the next step, which is actually building the rule itself. So there are two ways of building the rule. Firstly, I choose my price will be considered with or without shipping cost. Let's say I want to just use the price of the product and then not the shipping cost from the market. And then two ways of doing that. My price should be on a specific level, or maybe should give me a specific position on the market. But let's say my price in this case, I want to set up the rule to be always 1% higher than some of the chosen competitors that I identified in the retailers tab. So let's say, of course, I will exclude all of the marketplace sellers here, exclude also the IDEO, but then I will focus on Google Shopping and I will focus on the direct competitors, and then maybe even identify the main competitors in the Google Shopping for that particular group of products. I can always filter that out. There is also the second possibility here where we will be going for the certain place in the market. So maybe we don't want to be on the first place. We want to position ourselves as in the top, very competitive, but not the cheapest, not on the first position. Then I want to be, let's say, on the second place or maybe third place in the entire ranking, or maybe among selected competitors. If I have chosen those main competitors which are the most relevant, then I'll be just selecting them. But going to that initial idea, so I want to be 1% higher than the cheapest of those selected competitors. That's my idea for the rule here. And then another thing, so what should happen if there are no competitors? So for some reason, probably for my top sellers, that's not going to be very, very common, right? But if there are no competitors, which very often happens for the long tail products or the products where simply are not so popular on the market, then I want to set some recommended price with the higher margin, let's say, or maybe even sell it at the catalog price. That might be the idea, right? There are even more possibilities here. So right away, I can go to default and set the catalog price as recommended, or I can also have some minimum and maximum prices provided. And let's say I have a maximum price provided in the feed. So I want to go to that maximum price because I'm the only one that has the product. If I want to work with the roundings, I can always adjust it. So to position myself and be something that looks good for the customers in the end, right? I don't want to have some odd roundings. Maybe I want to always have the 99 cents or 95 cents or whatever the rounding would be. I can always set it up. Let's say for all the products from 100 to 150 euros, because that was my range when I was choosing the products for the rule. I want to have the 99 cents rounding. And then the last part, the most important part here. So I want to apply the rule as long as my minimum criteria, my minimum limits are met, because I want to protect my margins. I don't want to go into some price wars and race to the bottom. I want to work on my margin and protect it. So I want to apply the rule as long as minimum price gives me, let's say, 25% of net margin. Or I can also have different criteria. So if I have those minimum prices, I can also use it as the limiting factor. So let's say my minimum fixed level is on a certain price, and that's what I want to set as my minimum. But to keep it real simple, let's say 25% of that margin, that's my minimum. If I want to have some ceiling here, let's say I want to set my maximum price again at catalog price, or maybe 150% of my minimum, or let's say I want to go to that 100% of my maximum price from the feed. And then the last step, so what should happen when those suggested price exceeds the limit? Because for some reason there are competitors, there are retailers that are totally outside of our limits. For some reason they just want to sell out. They have very low prices, or they maybe have very high prices. And then I want to adjust the price to the limit and maybe match the price to the cheapest competitor within my limit, because that's what I want to meet. And then I want to keep my price endings because I want to always have those specific endings that I chose. There are also two more possibilities. So if I want to ignore the price recommendation and then apply a next rule with a lower priority, so this rule has the priority number 1, it's the most important one, but if I cannot achieve it, then let's go to the next rule. Or maybe I don't want to change my price at all, I just keep it at the same level. But then again, this is almost like doing nothing, right? So depends if I want to react and be fast on the market, or if I want to stay on this status quo maybe. So let's say I want to adjust price to the limits, then I save changes, go to the simulation, and then we will see what the system actually recommends here and what is the simulation in the end. So first, simple overview. I see the new simulated price, I see the new simulated margin, I see the current price that I have, and then I can easily check how those prices were calculated. So I click on the calculation and see the way, the logic behind it, right? So I want it to be 1% higher than the cheapest of selected competitors. In this case, the selected competitor, because I chose all of the Google Shopping offers, is €1.29. So I wanted to be 1% higher, it would be 130. I wanted to apply the price rounding to round it to 99 always. So the next idea would be 199, right? But then my minimum limit in this case is €2.62 because I wanted to make at least 25% of net margin. My maximum is €4.20. So I'm below the limit. And then in the end, the system wants to adjust the price to the cheapest retailer within the limit, which would be €2.83. And then I wanted to apply the rounding. So it's €2.99. In the end, that's what the system recommends. All of the products, all of the simulations can be easily checked. If I don't agree for some reason with that specific recommendation, then I can always set the price manually. So let's say for that product, I want to set the price actually on, let's say, $2.49 because that's what I want to price the product for. I can set the specific timeline for that, and then just set the new price. Quite simple here. And now it's just a matter of pushing those prices into our system. So I need to activate the rule. If we integrate, of course, all the prices are sent automatically to your eShop platform or to your ERP, depending, of course, on the system that we connect to. Okay, so now we went through the whole rule building process, right? But as we were discussing earlier, that's, already a few steps, but the last step is evaluation. We need to actually understand how those rules are actually performing. What are they actually doing for us? So if I activate the rule and then track the performance of that, I go to the dashboards, and now I can easily see right away how my performance looks like. So let's say I choose the strategy that I used. So I used the strategy relative to competitors. Now I can filter by any criterias again. So let's say I exclude, of course, the sources which are not relevant in that case. I can also narrow it down to the groups, to the categories, brands. And now I see all of the data from the market. So since we integrated with Google Analytics, we will see the sales, the margin over time from the last 3 months. Then we will see how that converts, how that looks like in the overview in the last 90 days again. But then we also have the simple overview of the products that we monitor. So what do we have in Dealavo actually? What are the products that we monitor? What are the retailers, the competitors? How many of them we find? What are the number of offers for our products? What is our average margin? What is our average price index? All of that in the simple overview, and also on the graphical overview. So let's say I can see right away a few competitors which are certainly cheaper. Let's say in this case, Butcher AG, 88% cheaper on the whole portfolio, right? Or the portfolio that we have in common. But then I can check and see how many products we actually have in common. So I see that 109 out of all of the products that we monitor, we have in common, and on 88% of them, they are cheaper than us. How much cheaper? I can see that from the price index, right? So easy overview, easy tracking of the performance of the adjustments that I do and how it actually affects the business. Yeah, and to be fair, those are pretty much the main things I wanted to go through in the dynamic pricing, in the repricing, and how it looks, how it works on the actual examples. So I guess right now it would be the time for questions. Let me see. Okay, question from Torben. Our biggest challenge is strong matching bundles, 3 times the product instead of one piece. Okay, usually how that's handled and how it can be adjusted is what we call it is price threshold verification. So usually if there is 3 piece in the bundle or 4 piece, 5 piece, 10 piece in the bundle, of course the price is way different than the price of one piece. In this case, what we can set up is the configuration in the Dealavo platform, so that we don't want to match if the price is, let's say, 1.5 times higher or lower than our price, because in that case sometimes the retailers, they use the GTN or the EAN of the single item, right? But actually they use it for the bundle. In this case, we will exclude those incorrect matches just because the price threshold won't allow to match it. Okay. That was a question from Torben. Let me know if I answered that or if you have a follow-up to that, of course. There is also possibility, of course, to schedule a quick one-on-one meeting with us, where we can basically go in deep into your requirements, what you're actually looking for, and see how and if we can fill that gap and help you in your business. So that's how you can do it. You can just get into that link visible right now, and we can schedule something. Let me know if there are any other questions. Okay, looks like that's all from the question side. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining today's webinar, today's meeting. If interested, scheduling an additional call, one-on-one call, discussing anything pricing related, dynamic pricing related, or simply catching up on ideas, feel free to reach out to us. And yeah, we are always open and happy to do that. I guess we are finishing up. Thanks, and have a nice rest of the day.